Let's go to Rob from Connecticut. What's up, Rob?
All right, enjoying your show. Thanks for the topic. I raised my son basically in the church the whole time. He's adopted, and but at one point he made a decision to have his lifestyle. And what Mr. Wade is going through, he's totally in a different kind of atmosphere because he can have a beautiful life, but I'm in the hood. But see, my son went out and he was promiscuous at 14, and he's got HIV. And we still love him. We don't agree with his lifestyle. We were raised in the church. He has to accept me as much as I love him.
Rob, hold on one second. There's a couple of things to unpack here, and I want you to just listen to me now. Listen to me now. You said he was promiscuous and he contracted HIV at 14 years old. So a question would have to be asked: why your child was having sex at 14 years old? And when I want you to hear me, Rob, you said I don't agree with his lifestyle, and you were raised in the church. He was raised in the church, rather. I say this over and over. Disagreeing with somebody being gay is like disagreeing with the sun rising or the sun setting. Somebody being gay is as natural as the sun rising or the sun setting. There is nothing to disagree with. So when you tell somebody that I love you, but I don't agree with who you are, naturally who you are, you're hurting them. And they're going to act out in dangerous and sometimes unhealthy ways for a child. So I would venture to believe, not saying you don't love your child, but I would go out there to say that your child may have went through spiritual and theological violence in that church. And if your child is in a home where whatever way you reacted uh, and you don't agree, that hurts your child in that moment. When you hear that, when your child hears that at that moment, that hurts the child. There is somebody listening to this radio show right now that heard you say, I don't agree, and you hurt them because there is nothing for you to agree or disagree with. It is as natural as the sun rising and the sun setting. So I really encourage people, if you love somebody in your family, you've got to see beyond your lens. You are not a gay person. You don't know how it is. You don't know the internal struggle and strife. And when you were taught that you are an abomination and God does not love you, I know people who have killed themselves. Why would you protect yourself from any kind of STD if you were taught that God does not love you? Why would you not be in an unhealthy relationship if you're taught that your own parent doesn't agree with you, so they can never bring love home to you? And if they do bring love home to you, they'll know in their head, but he doesn't agree. So I'm saying that with love and respect. We're having a respectful conversation. I'm telling y'all that I don't agree. You can do that, but you are hurting your child. You are hurting your child. And this may feel like a drastic comparison, but it's the same way when you have white folks telling black folks they don't agree with something, or Christians telling Muslim they don't agree with something. This is who we are. And love, the act of love. I bet you at the end of the day, if your child at 14 years old contracted HIV because according to you, he was promiscuous, because you can get HIV not being promiscuous.
Hell yeah.
I bet you that that was done because he was looking for love. Final comment. Go ahead, Rob.
Wow, there's a lot to unpack. What he chose to do is it's the same as any heterosexual child. It's possible for them to be promiscuous and do things.
But wait, do you think a 14-year-old is choosing to be promiscuous? Do you think a
make
14-year-old is
choice
choosing promiscuity? They're 14.
They're not wise enough yet. They're not. They're things that they can wait on. And I don't
Wait,
think.
Rob. I'm sorry, brother. I got to push back just a little bit. What do you think you did as a father for your 14-year-old to be quote unquote promiscuous?
I don't think that I did anything wrong as a parent, but
Okay.
sometimes when I was younger, I did a lot of things that I regret as well. And I think that he didn't want to go and get involved with that type of a situation, but he was just being a kid. He didn't make a wise decision. And it had nothing to do with him, his sexual preference, but it had to do with maybe some bad parenting. I don't know, but it was just something that happened, and we still love him. We still
I hear you,
provide
brother. I
for
hear
him.
you, Rob. I want to ask you that I want Drew to tackle this as well. Do you hear me when you say you disagree with somebody's quote unquote lifestyle? Because it isn't a lifestyle. Hip hop is a lifestyle. Lifestyles are the rich and famous. But do you understand where I'm coming from when you say I disagree, it's like disagreeing with the sun rising or the sun setting. It is natural. There is nothing to agree or disagree with. Do you hear me when I say that?
I do.
Okay,
But it's
cool.
the same. That I understand. Correct me if I'm wrong. If I'm heterosexual and he chooses to be homosexual, then my preferences are different from his. And that doesn't change the love that I have for him. He
Of
could.
course, but it does change the hurt you may cause him. You could still love him and hurt him. So I'm not trying to be a stickler here, but you even saying, you said I'm heterosexual. You didn't say you chose to be heterosexual. You didn't say that, but you said that he chose to be gay. You didn't choose to be heterosexual. He didn't choose to be gay. And it sounds like in the environment he was in, it would have been much easier to be straight. You know what I mean? We're spending a lot of time with you, Rob. I want to thank you for calling in, and I want to have Drew interject. Go ahead, Drew.
So Rob's call, triggered me in a lot of ways. Let me just be honest with you. One, I feel for this, for this human being, this person who at 14 contracted HIV. Like, I can't imagine what that meant for one to be 14. There are not a lot of 14-year-olds that are actually choosing to have sex. I feel like that usually if you're 14 years old and you are having sex, the chances are that somebody's probably taking advantage of you in some way, shape, or form, right? Like, I think that there's a much higher propensity that somebody has taken advantage of a 14-year-old than a 14-year-old just sort of saying, oh, I'm going to go out and have sex today, right? Or they were groomed or something like that. The other piece of it is the assumption that this child chose to be gay. I think we got to stop using this language. And for me, I can just say for me, it was not a choice. In terms of being gay, because I definitely tried being straight. I had a lot of heterosexual sex in high school, and it didn't stick.
Drew, may I add quickly? You also grew up in a 2-parent household.
Yeah.
Your mother and your father. It's not like some folks think it's some kind of trauma. That wasn't your experience at all. Just want to add that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wasn't molested as a child. It wasn't that I saw unhealthy heterosexual relationships. So I chose another direction. My parents are still loving and affectionate towards each other, right? I also feel like that when he said that, like, okay, that's Dwayne Wade, he can make that decision for his child because he's in an environment that's different from me. I'm in the hood. Let me tell you that parents in the hood have the same responsibility to protect their children as parents anywhere else. There are parents in the hood that are protecting their children from all kinds of stuff, right? All kinds of stuff. This is another thing that you protecting your child's body as well as protecting their heart and their soul and their mind it's the same tenacity that you got to do that with, right? Like, the fact that Dwayne Wade and his wife have a lot of money, it's not about money. This isn't about money. This is about loving your child more than you love the dream that you had for them, right? Like, I know that my parents definitely had some harsh reactions to me coming out. But I also know that my parents had an understanding that it was definitely within the realm of possibility. I told you this story before, Clay, that the first time I got in a fight when I was younger was because somebody called me a faggot. And my dad didn't address the fact that I probably had a little bit of a swish in my walk right at the time, which I already knew. It wasn't the first time I'd heard that, but it was the first time I fought, right? And my dad basically said to me, today, you and I'm going to teach you how to fight, because I don't care why this dude called you this. I don't care that he called you that. But tomorrow, if he calls you a faggot again, he's going to have to go home and tell his daddy that a faggot beat his ass. Because when you go back to school, if he calls you that again, beat his ass, right? And so I'm not saying that wins my dad any Father of the Year awards, but what it said to me was that my dad cared less about why this dude was calling me the F word, right? and cared more about making sure that I only had to fight that fight one time, right? So at the very least, that people knew that that little boy right there may be a faggot, but he's a faggot that will whoop your ass if you call him a faggot, right? So everybody has to look at their child and figure out for them what will affirm them and what will protect them at the same time. And then protect your child so that they live to survive and you have a conversation the next day. My dad didn't take it as hard when I came out as my mom did, partially because I think that he knew and how he was raising me to protect myself from that there was a possibility that was going to happen, that was in the realm of possibility. And for me, that meant the world to me. It meant the world to me that my dad didn't care about the being called a sissy or whatever, or that's how I was showing up. He cared that I would know how to protect myself and I would know how to stand up for myself, even when that happened, that I wouldn't shrink away or let that intimidate me from being as big a person as I could possibly be.
And I just also want to add, I want to make sure I stress, make sure I make it crystal clear that with the caller Rob from Connecticut saying that his child was promiscuous at 14 years old, I just want to reiterate this. I don't believe in 14-year-olds being promiscuous. I don't know if that child, I don't want to put any assumption on that child's experience. I don't know if there was a violation. I don't know, but a 14-year-old does not have consent.
Yeah.
So I just really want to be clear about that. That's really, really important.